If you are thinking of buying new construction in or around the greater Phoenix area, north, south, east, west, in the middle of the city, out in the burbs, you're not going to want to miss this video because I'm going to cover some hot spots, tips, and tricks for new construction purchases, why it is or maybe isn't the right purchase for you. Let's first talk about my favorite word when it comes to new construction is trickery.
Oh, you got me!
The builders are here for one thing, and that is to sell you. Let's start with the websites. I know most of you that are watching this video are from out of state, and so you're probably looking online and you're finding all kinds of new construction online. Let me point out that these are billion-dollar companies that are spending millions of dollars on websites to make them look amazing, beautiful, desirable. Well, let me tell you, everything they put on those sites might be just a little bit embellished. Let's talk about what some of those might look like and why it's really important that you do some research with a local area expert, a relocation expert, before you head on out here to start looking at homes. When we look at this particular builder, it shows you the beautiful mountain views. But what you really don't know is that just a couple blocks over, you're going to be driving down this street. Now, myself personally, one of the things I really do is recommend that all buyers take a look at not only the crime rate for the area, but also local sex offender registration. You will find these throughout the greater Phoenix area, but you're going to find some that are more condensed in certain areas. Now, as a realtor, we can't persuade you to go somewhere or not go somewhere, but we certainly can provide you with this source for you to do the research yourself. So some of my favorites are crimegrade.org will tell you the story. Another resource you might want to look at is the schools. The schools will tell you really, again, what that community is like. One of my favorite websites for checking out schools is greatschools.org. If you look at where the community is on, let's just say, a Google map, and then you switch on over to Crime Grade, enter in that zip code for that same community, and zoom in, you're going to have a better idea of what you might expect. Now, this particular area is what I would call infill. So we do have a lot of dirt still in and around the core part of the greater Phoenix area. Builders have found that number one, they can actually get more money if they go out a little further. So leave it to them to think about the money part. And number two, it's actually easier because when you're trying to go in, when there's other obstacles, sometimes it's residential property owners that don't want to see more construction nearby. They don't want high density. Even some of the single family homes that are on the really smaller lots, that's going to create more traffic and nuisance and people. Look, whether you admit it or not, more people means more problems. That's just how it works.
More people, more problems.
Right? You think of a family dinner of 4, that's easy to manage. You have a family dinner of 50, it's going to be crazy. You get my point. So this particular area is also, again, infill. It's by a lot of farming area. Now, although there's a lot of farm community, whether it be inside or outside of the greater Phoenix area, converting to housing, there's just different type of farming. So this infill area, known as Levine Village or Levine or South Phoenix, the same general area, has an abundance of farm waste issues as well as industrial compost farms. So you want to do a lot more research than looking at the website that the builder has paid to suck you in. You see my point? That's why you got to give us a call, because we are here to represent you. The builders are there to represent their pocketbooks. Here's another example. Builder makes a beautiful website. Look at this gorgeous sunset with the cactus and the mountain. And so you're thinking, that's the sunset I want to have every night. Well, here is what the desert really looks like where they are building this community. And as you can see, the mountains are nowhere near where Teravalis is going to be built. Now, this is a very long plan community, meaning they're going to eventually have 300,000 people living out here, but we're talking over the next 30 to 40 years. And if you're wondering where they're going to get water, we all want to know too. That particular community does not have all of its permits. They do have the beginning of their permits. I think it was around 7,000, which it's going to take them several years to sell, like more than several years. But every home that they do build in the greater Phoenix area that has the permit to break ground has a 100-year guarantee of water supply. So know that if you buy a home, you're going to be taken care of for 100 years. But what I'm trying to say about this particular community, you're not going to have the amazing things that it's advertising on there, other than maybe some local parks. You're not going to have a gas station nearby. That can be pretty scary. You're not going to have a grocery store. You're not going to have medical care. Even if you can find a guy to drop off pizza, if you don't have your hot peppers and cheese, you're going to have to knock on the next door neighbor's door to borrow, because there's going to be nothing out here for a very, very long time. If you want to know what the real expectations are, you got to give locals, relocation experts, a call so we can tell you more about it. Let's take a look at another one. Yes, I took the freeway to get out there. And as I drove in from the freeway, I was admiring the beautiful drive into this new gated community. But it wasn't until I popped my drone up in the air that I saw this gravel pit right on the other side of the back wall of some of these homes. Now, some people wouldn't care because you might just see right over these, right over the fence and right over the area. It was funny how the salesperson didn't mention anything about gravel pit in the area. And then when we asked him about it, his response was, "Don't worry about that. It's an inactive gravel pit and it won't be any problem." Again, they're not there to represent you. They are there to get the home sold. Now, some of the other areas, if you go further outside of the greater Phoenix area, there's pros and cons for both. Some people want to live close proximity to the city lifestyle. And the reason I say that again is because that infill area that I was just talking about, although it might be really close to freeways and downtown Phoenix, you're probably not going to be spending a lot of time in downtown Phoenix. And they also on their website point out all the amazing trails nearby and activities and shopping and casinos. And that's not the lifestyle that you're really going to feel when you actually live there. You're going to be a freeway away from all those type of desirable entertainment activities, amenities, dining, shopping kind of lifestyle. Don't forget, your neighbors are going to be shopping in the same grocery store that you are. And one of the things one of my past clients said, he's like, the best advice you ever gave me, Sheryl, was go to the local grocery stores and look at the cars in the parking lot. That will tell you a lot of what your local neighbors are. Remember, the builders are just building one community, maybe 100 homes, maybe 200 homes, but you're going to be amongst thousands of other people that are already there, perhaps if you're buying again inside the city. So you get to know your neighbors just even outside of your walls. Now, if you go a little further out, at the same time, be a little bit careful about this too. I have seen builders talk about, this was in South Australia. I'm going to call it South Australia. It's not called South Australia. Estrella Mountain Ranch continues to grow and grow and grow and grow. And what that means is it continues to go further south. And the further south it gets, it is nice because you're in this beautiful mountain area. But they don't tell you that, you don't get deliveries, you don't get DoorDash, and there's also a lot more wildlife critters out there. It's also windier out this way, and you're further away from the shopping. Even the Safeway that is currently there provides grocery services for thousands of people that live in Estrella Mountain Ranch. And I heard a new sales rep, this was actually about 2 years ago, and he said there's a new Fry's going in just down the road. He's like, I heard that's going in. That was 2 years ago, and it's still not in. What I'm trying to say is, even though it comes out of their mouth, it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. I hate to say that.
Keep it real, homies.
Unless you see it either in the public report, which is a document that the builder has to provide you once you go under contract. There's a little tip right there. Ask for the public report before you go under contract. Or you actually see it approved in the local city council minutes that shows that it's coming in down the road, like for instance, Verrado Marketplace. It is in fact going in. They will break ground in 2025 and it will be starting to open and operate within a 12 months period of time. So there are some things that the salespeople are accurate, but it's all those exaggerators to try and make the sale. Here's another one out in Santan Valley. Santan Valley, the salespeople more often than not do not mention that their property taxes do not include fire services. If you've watched my videos, it's probably the number one thing people come to me and say, I don't want to live in an area that doesn't have fire services because I have to pay it on top of my property taxes, and homeowners insurance is already high through the sky. But you know what? Santan Valley is not the only area. There are parts of Buckeye and even Litchfield Park that don't have it. But the thing is this, guys, the sales reps don't tell you this. And sometimes what happens is right now with the builders offering a lot of incentives and concessions and such, they'll pay for that first year and you don't know about it until your property taxes are reassessed the following year, or you get your new homeowners insurance notice 12 months later. This is why you got to know what questions to ask. Call the #1 relocation team. Here's the thing, guys. You don't know what you don't know. And a lot of agents don't overly explain things to people that aren't already calling Arizona home. And so you have no idea. That's why you got to give us a call.
We're family now, and I got your back forever. You hear me?
Here's another thing that they don't tell you about some of the more rural areas. And I'm seeing this in a lot of cities. Like again, where all the new construction is. Surprise, Buckeye. Santan Valley is a city that has been growing for decades. And it is also an area they call a food desert. Buckeye also has that name, and so does Surprise. And what does this mean? It means that you don't have a lot of choices for healthy eating in these areas. You, of course, have the few grocery stores that are out these ways. But as far as, and I don't want to say fast food, but just convenience, convenient foods, healthier choices, and even some of those grocery stores. In fact, you won't find Sprouts very infiltrated on the west part of the valley, although they are starting to grow, but there are 0 Whole Foods. So if these are important to you guys, you got to let us know. We'll help you identify parts of town. We're not even going to talk about builders. We're not going to even talk about price points, because here's the thing, guys. If you're going new construction and you're going out in the burbs, the prices are super affordable. With the median national income around 450, you can get homes out in our burbs below the national median. So there are a lot of options, but let's just help you narrow down the best part for you, based on obviously where your employment is though too. Lots of questions when you're buying new construction. That's why you got to give us a call. Another thing to consider with new construction, and some builder reps say this and some builders don't. There are many master plan communities, new master plan communities, even some that have been around for a while, that have these things called CFDs. That's a community facilities district. That means that the city deferred improvements to the builder, and then the builder deferred improvements to the taxpayer, the homeowners, the taxpayers. And what they do is they take out bonds to pay for curb, gutter, lighting, school, fire services, police services, depending on where it is that you're buying a home. And they incur these additional fees that are tacked onto your property taxes. There are some communities where those CFDs will be paid off and then they'll go away. And then there are some communities that they will never go away. They can change your monthly mortgage payment, or just even if you pay cash, you still always have property taxes, but it can change of a significant price, up to 1% of your purchase price. What that means, it can affect you by $500 a month on a $500,000 purchase. I'm telling you guys, this information isn't always disclosed until you're at the table signing the paperwork and they send it to you electronically and maybe you haven't gone through it carefully. This is why you need to give us a call so we can walk you through all the little details before you even get there. Next part about the builders, I'm going to call it trickery. It's not really trickery on this part. This is about their pricing. There's a lot of confusing information on the websites and also just what you find online. So I wanted to try and help explain some of this for you. Get your paper and pencils out. So most of the advertising is done with what they call a base price. That means a la carte. You're buying the home a la carte. That's a word that I think a lot of people are familiar with. Unless you're buying a home, you don't know what a base price is. Even when you're buying new cars, everything's just included. Like if you're buying this car, everything's included. Not with the house. So let's talk about what base price means. It means that if you just could buy the house and put it on a piece of dirt, that's what it's going to cost. That's what it's going to cost. All right, let's just say $500,000. Okay, they don't usually put it at $500,000. They'll put it at $493,000, $550,000, something like that. And so all that you see is the fours, just to let you know, that's part of their marketing. And then what they don't tell you is that number one, there's a lot premium on the majority of those lots, if not all of them. So that you don't know. A lot of people look at the site map online, which it's fun to dream. I'm not going to say not to dream. It is fun. But they don't realize that there's a lot premium on those premium lots. And even the ones that don't seem to have a premium might have a $5,000, a $7,000, even a $9,000 lot premium that you're like, what am I paying for? Like that should be included in the house. You're right. In some cases it should. And then you're like, well, I want that one that has a view of the water. Well, one of my favorite new communities called Barney Farms. I've done a lot of videos on that too. Every single one of their lots has a premium, and the lots that are nearest the water, which aren't really waterfront lots, needless to say, have more than a $200,000 lot premium.
Are you crazy?
I even laughed at that with the salesperson, and he even giggled. He said, yeah, I could probably, there's some wiggle room in there. I'm like, yeah, I know there's wiggle room in there. $200,000, and they haven't sold it for 2.5 years. They've been selling those lots for 2.5 years, and no one's bought, except for an employee, because he got a big discount. Needless to say, don't think that those are easily achievable. There's a reason they're still available. Or golf premium lots. This is why it's better to buy a resale, because when you buy resale, by the way, these type of things are built in that price. So you know what you're getting. When you're buying a new construction home, if it has that lot premium, like up in Verrado and Victory, there's a couple of lots that are right on the golf course. More than a $250,000 lot premium. I think there was one that was $350,000. There's another community up in Red Rock, but that's in Mesa, that had beautiful mountain view. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think it was worth $150,000. Just saying, somebody bought it. Just know that there are lot premiums. Here's another thing too about mountain views and desert views. Here is a new community. I actually just did a video on it. This is Verrado Highlands. And although you walking through this model and you look smack out dab through the backyard, you see this beautiful open desert and a mountain right there. Of course they built the model right there with that. But you know what you got to ask? Are they going to be building any other homes behind this home? Between us and the mountain? And guess what the answer would be if you had asked? The answer is yes. So although you will have a mountain view of a sort, it's going to change after the homes are built behind you. Let me tell you, once upon a time when Morrison Ranch in Gilbert, 20 years ago, was originally being built, or the beginning parts of it, they were selling it on the idea of seeing Superstition Mountain way off in the distance. Now in Morrison Ranch, you can't see the mountains. Just to let you know, unless you are at the base of that mountain, it could go away. Larger lots are also at a premium. Sometimes corner lots are also at a premium and they require additional care. So it's not always apparent that these are all one price. That's why you got to give us a call, because we can kind of help you. Here's another thing. When you are comparing new construction to new construction, like you're looking online between two different builders and you're really like trying to shop the best price, and you're paying attention to the floor plans. Floor plans are very, very important. But here's the thing, guys. Most of the builders have different options to have like a third car garage converted to a fourth car garage, or you could have that as a den, or you could have a 2-car garage with an office or a multi-jet. Like there's so many moving parts. It's really hard to figure out what builders include what in that base price. It requires so much more research and so many more conversations. That's why you got to give us a call and we can kind of help you muddy through that, or get through that muddy area. Here's the other thing too, especially if you're super budget sensitive. If you are looking at some of the entry level builders, they don't offer the same quality of materials or standard inclusions on those base purchase prices. Some of them you have to add on. And so when you look at a home, you're like, this is a better bang for your buck, but that it might be like $20,000 difference. But the one that is cheap is super uber cheap, and you're going to wind up spending $20,000 at the design center or after the fact, after you close. Sometimes, especially if you're financing it, it is better to include these type of items on your mortgage, because those payments are amortized over 30 years, not paid up front unless you're a cash buyer. Lots of math, lots of conversation. You can no longer buy new construction and not spend money unless it's a spec home, or there's now a new phase called QMI. That stands for quick move-in. So you can buy a new build where you go in and you get to actually pick out your lot, pay your lot premium, pick out the house that you want to put on there, and then you go to the design center appointment. Okay. When you usually go to the design center appointment, know that if you're doing a new build home like this, you are going to be spending at the very minimum 10%. Like, I don't think anyone has ever not spent 10%, because sometimes the things they have in there, it's not a matter of, here's the basic, do you want to upgrade? Yes or no. It's, do you want A or B? A is 5,000, B is 10,000. Is that trickery? No, that's just how they do the a la carte menu. That's what I call it, right? So know that you will have your earnest deposit as soon as you lock in the contract. Earnest deposits are a lot larger than many people are sometimes prepared for. It really depends on your price point, but we are seeing some as much as 2%, which might be more than what you were accustomed to. If you're not buying new homes on a regular basis, you might have bought a home 10 years ago. Back in the day, you used to leave an earnest deposit of $2,500 and you were good for a year. Not so much anymore. So give us a call. Every builder has a different number, and they are asking for buyers, unless it's a lower price point, they are asking for buyers to put a little bit more skin in the game. And then when you go to the design center appointment, if it exceeds like 15% of the base price, sometimes they'll give you a little bit more range. You need to come in with some additional money, because they're going to be building a home that has a lot more upgrades. And if for some reason you don't perform and they have to go back on the market, there might be a higher risk in getting that sold if you pick out some pretty wacky colors or flooring. You see my point? I'm kind of giving you the backstory here, right? There's always the other side. Now, if you buy a spec home, this is where you will get the best deals all the time. The builders want to keep their inventory going. They don't want to rely on everything that's only 9 to 10 months, which, by the way, that's the average build time in the greater Phoenix area at the time of this video now. So if you're expecting it to be a year or longer, unless it's luxury or custom, probably not, probably 9 or 10 months. And what they do is they start doing what they call spec homes. Spec homes means that they go out, pick out the house, put it on the floor, on the dirt, and they pre-order everything they need. Now, here's the thing. You will get a lot of the a la carte costs built in. You cannot change anything. You cannot add anything. If you happen to catch them when they're just starting to put together a spec, sometimes you can, but more often than not, unless you're working with someone like us, where we know what's coming up before it's online, by the time it's online, it's too late. So you're going to be stuck with whatever color pattern, carpet, grade, non-pull out, not auto closure. Like they'll have beautiful cabinets, but they're probably not going to have the self-closing cabinets. They're probably not going to include window coverings. They're not going to include ceiling fans. They're not going to include all the little tiny things that do add up when you're building your own home, but they're trying to keep the price down. And they also don't want to overcommit their dollars before it's sold to somebody else. See what I'm trying to make? They're there to make money, guys.
Show me the money.
So they will build the home nicely, but not really personal and not a lot of upgrades. There will also typically not be any window coverings, which on the average, by the way, shutters for a 2,000 square foot home is going to be about $15,000 to $20,000. And then a backyard, depending on if you're just, I would never recommend anyone just put rock, because here's what people don't realize. It's the cheapest way to like cover the dirt. You do want to cover the dirt as soon as possible, because we do have a lot of dust storms. And when we do get rain, you don't want to have mud and you don't want the grading to change. But the problem is if you put the rock in, you have to pay someone to get it out of your backyard. That's such a pain. So I always tell people, get at least a basic backyard. And a basic backyard is what I mean, like maybe real grass, that's the least expensive. And then also get a drip system and a sprinkler system, get some plants in there. And again, so that when it does rain, that water doesn't come up to your house. That's going to be probably a minimum of $15,000. Even if you do it yourself, you're looking at $10,000. Yeah. So the point is there's a lot of extra expense with the new construction home that you're not even necessarily thinking of. There was even a spec home that we sold that it didn't have a garage door opener. I get it. It wasn't that expensive, but it was $300 that they needed to go spend right after they closed. So again, some things to think about. But this again is where you're getting the best concessions. What the builder will start to do is if it's going to be a build time of like 6 months out, they'll offer you, let's call it the platinum package, okay? And the platinum package will consist of A, B, and C. Now, as no one is buying that home and it's now getting closer to 5 months being done and 4 months being done and 3 months, they're going to graduate that home to, let's say, the silver package, and they're going to entice you. Yeah, but they're not going to give away the total like big bang, right? And as it gets in within the 60 days, if it still hasn't sold, that's when they offer you the gold package, and they are going to be over the top. They're going to do permanent buy down rates as low as 3.99 in 2024. If you are waiting for interest rates to come down, why? Even though the greater Phoenix area has seen a flat market, with the buy down rates, you will pay less than rent, depending on what you're looking for. Not to mention that you're going to have the tax write-off, and while you're paying that monthly payment, instead of it going to a landlord, you're paying down your mortgage. So even though we have had a balanced market over the last couple of years, despite what some of those other YouTubers have been saying about it's going to crash. Well, you know what? That dip already happened in 2022. That was over 2 years ago. I think we're going to see more of the same over the next year. So I would ask again, what are you waiting for? Now, the QMIs, that's the one that I was saying that you're going to have the gold package. And let me tell you, there is such thing as a platinum package. The house is done and they're waiting for the right buyer. And I'm telling you, some of the deals we have negotiated are over the top. Insane. You got to give us a call. Here's the other thing, and here's the advice, the biggest advice I'm going to give you that you got to remember. The builders are still very much paying our compensation. In fact, they are begging us to bring our amazing buyers that are already pre-qualified and ready to find their perfect home. They are marketing to us. And so if you think you are getting a better deal without us, let me tell you, I have many friends that work on the inside of these builder offices, and you should see the profits that they get to keep because of unrepresented buyers. If you have not watched Sci-Fi Inspections on Instagram, definitely take a look at what he has to report. The majority of the people that he is going out to do these one-year inspections are for people that didn't do inspections because they didn't have realtors at the time they were negotiating their transactions. You very much need your own representation. The person in the sales office only has to do two things. They have to be fair and honest. They can't lie, but they don't have to be forthcoming. Meaning, if they know there's a gravel pit on the other side of that fence, if you don't ask about it, they don't have to tell you. Let me tell you guys, you do not want to walk into these builders' offices without representation. Give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, days, nights, or weekends. We got your back when moving to Phoenix, Arizona, whether it's resale or new construction, whether it's inside the greater Phoenix area or on the outside. We got your back when buying a home in Arizona. Can't wait to hear from you. Hopefully soon. Bye.